Don't blink.
In the news tonight, the National Examination Board says despite an Ebola lockdown in Mubende and Kasanda districts, O and A-level students who start their exams tomorrow will not be disrupted. A mass vaccination of men against tetanus kicks off early next year following rising cases of the disease in Uganda.
Stop tetanus!
Also tonight, opposition MPs are consulting various stakeholders in Bunyoro region about a bill that would protect farmers from traders who give them peanuts for their produce.
Without fear, I can tell you this act to the farmer is useless.
In sports, Toro and Lango provinces have qualified for the semi-finals of this year's edition of the FUFA Drum Cup. It is exactly 9 p.m. on Sunday 16th of October 2022. Good evening and welcome to PM Edition. I'm Kalachi Brown with Isaac Luchams for your sign language interpretation. Starting us off today, following a 21-day lockdown in Mubende and Kasanda district that was announced by President Museveni yesterday to curb the spread of Ebola, the National Examinations Board has explained that the lockdown will not affect their operations in the two districts. Final national O and A-level examinations start tomorrow. UNEP says finalists will not be affected.
President Museveni announced the lockdown in the central Uganda districts of Mubende and Kasanda to contain an Ebola outbreak that has already claimed 19 lives in the country. He said movement of people to and out of the two districts is prohibited.
After careful study, is taking extra measures that require action from all of us. All these measures shall start with immediate effect and will last 21 days because the incubation period for Ebola is up to 21 days.
The lockdown came at the time when Senior 4 and 6 students are scheduled to start their UNEP final examinations tomorrow. However, UNEP says the exams will proceed as planned in the two districts.
Examinations are going to go on as planned, even in the districts of Kasanda and Mubende district, despite the lockdown. We have made consultations with both the Ministry of Health and Ministry of Education officials, and they've assured us that it is okay for us to go ahead and conduct examinations in those districts. So as I speak now, our vehicles, our transit vehicle, our truck vehicles, were transporting examinations to the various districts, including Kasanda and Mubende, have traveled today, and we expect to begin examinations tomorrow morning. And we encourage all the professionals who are conducting examinations, whether in Mubende and in Kasanda, to contact the area supervisors in those districts or even the security officials who will guide you on how you're going to go about the movements within the district.
In previous years, some schools have been receiving their exams late due to challenges in the delivery of the examination materials. Kalole says factors that have been causing such delays have been eliminated.
In terms of the challenge of delayed arrivals of examination papers, this time round we try to minimize it. We have made some of the routes shorter to ensure that we can be able to deliver the examinations in time at other stations, and consequently tomorrow morning we should be able to deliver all the examinations, or rather head teachers or area supervisors should be able to collect the examinations in good time in order to be able to have them get the sitting centers in time for the examinations. Examinations begin at 9 o'clock and the examination papers should be at the sitting center by 8:30, at least 30 minutes before the start of the examinations. Relatedly, the candidates should also be at the centers at least 30 minutes before the start of the examinations, and in any case not less than 15 minutes after the examination has started.
Uganda's Ebola caseload has, of yesterday, climbed to 58 in just a month after the contagious disease was confirmed in Mubende district. President Museveni partially attributed the spread to public transport and public gatherings. However, Kassanda South Member of Parliament Frank Kabuye says that such a lockdown wasn't necessary and the main focus should have been streamlining, improving health service delivery.
I think before the government tries to look for solutions which are affecting our people directly, let the government look for solutions that are going to benefit our people. Because today, even if you put us in a lockdown, when you've not improved the health sector in our region, it is not going to do us over, and it is not going to be of any help to our people. They will still die in their houses, they will die in their gardens, they will die in their families as a family, and we shall have no one to blame but the government of Museveni and all its operatives.
Although Ebola is often fatal, at least 20 recoveries have been posted by health authorities in Uganda. Uganda's last recorded fatality from a previous Ebola outbreak was in 2019. The particular strain now circulating in Uganda is known as the Sudan Ebola virus, which has no vaccine. The World Health Organization says clinical trials of the vaccine and drugs could start within weeks.
Prime Minister Robin Nabanja has rallied Ugandans to grow more food to ensure food security and poverty eradication. Nabanja was at Namulonge Agriculture Research Institute during celebrations to mark World Food Day. We have more.
That is going to be coming. If we have a lot of people in your tent, then we will be letting that.
The World Food Day is used to review various innovations and challenges in the agriculture sector. While at Namulonge Research Institute, Prime Minister Nabanja challenged desert subsistence because the system cannot help them overcome poverty.
We have very good fertile soils and abundant water and good weather. The food insecurity in some parts of this country should make us pause and ask ourselves, what are we not doing right? And what we need to do better.
Nabanja says Uganda has the required technology to produce more food for consumption and business.
It should also make us pause and ask ourselves what our scientists in the Ministry of Agriculture, the private sector, and everyone are not doing right. It should also make us pause and ask ourselves, we the leaders, my brother, the Minister of Agriculture, the religious leaders, and the cultural leaders, what is it that we are not doing right?
She says farmers should use the available technologies to add value to their products for better prices locally and internationally. The Minister of Agriculture, Animal Industry and Fisheries, Frank Tumwebaza, says government has introduced several schemes to support farmers.
Cows are roaming just to know that they are doing more harm to the environment. So through research, we are promoting intensive methods of farming that are commercial, but also environmentally sustainable.
Today is World Food Day, and we are fighting hunger, and we know how malnutrition affects us, especially in those areas where there is no food. When we talk about malnutrition, it's all about not eating well.
Officials from the Food and Agriculture Organization, as well as the National Agriculture Research Organization, say commercial farming is the way to go to end hunger and malnutrition. Several products were exhibited at this event. Safi, Mokele Baluku and Daniel Echwalu, CTV, PM Edition.
Opposition MPs have started consulting various stakeholders about a bill that would streamline a relationship between farmers and buyers of their products that was introduced by Chimanya Kabonera lawmaker Abeid Bwanika. Leader of opposition Matthias Impuga and his team that are touring Bunyoro region have met farmers in Masindi district, and we have the report.
Mpuga and some members of the shadow cabinet are in Bunyoro region inspecting the implementation of various government programs. The team met farmers groups in Masindi district. The major focus of the meeting was a draft bill that is being processed by Abeid Bwanika, the Chimanya Kabonera MP. The bill is intended to streamline the relationship between farmers and produce buyers with the intention of protecting farmers in terms of price determination.
But we have made a big step, and this is the consultative stage. We believe our farmers in Masindi and everywhere will benefit and make farming a business. And I think that's what you are doing. And somehow, along the way, you get so frustrated by the kind of things you meet when trying to survive and thrive through farming.
A sizable number of farmers in Masindi and Hoima districts are sugarcane outgrowers. However, the farmers complain of being cheated by monopoly sugar companies when it comes to determining cane prices and when to buy their cane.
What the president assented to was that the formula to determine the sugarcane price shall be price of sugarcane equals to C times R times D, where R is weight in tons of sugarcane. How do you use sugarcane, weight of sugarcane, to determine the price of sugarcane?
Cane buyers determine the price and farmers have no say at all. For example, 1 ton of cane is bought at 120,000 shillings from farmers. After being processed, 1 ton of sugarcane produces 250 kilogram bags of sugar that go for 400,000 shillings. Sugar is not the only sugarcane byproduct. This implies that processors heavily cheat farmers.
Yeah, sometimes it's not to go through the season, especially when prices go down. It's so hard. And there are a lot of our buyers that like it when the prices are completely down. But even when the prices are high, still there are issues. There could have been challenges probably with the droughts or any other issue or So farming faces a lot of challenges.
The farmers say the amendments in the Sugar Act have not catered for the interest of sugarcane farmers.
And today I can tell you, this act to a farmer is useless, without fear. I can tell you this act to a farmer is useless because we grow cane for money and there's no sugar cane formula here.
The amendments, according to the cane farmers, were supposed to create a committee that would link cane farmers and processors. The Sugarcane Board, which was also supposed to be introduced to protect the interest of sugarcane farmers, has never been put in place, according to the farmers.
Well, I'll have more news for you when PM Edition returns after the break. Keep it CTV, don't blink. Thank you for keeping it CTV. I'm Kalachi Brand with Isaac Richards on Sign Language. Moving on, a mass vaccination of men against tetanus kicks off next year. According to the Ministry of Health, the move is aimed at reducing the number of tetanus cases amongst men. Here's more.
Every year, 3,000 up to 5,000 people contract tetanus in Uganda, according to the figures of the Uganda National Expanded Program on Immunization. To make it worse, most tetanus patients die because the disease requires emergency and long-term supportive treatment in a hospital intensive care unit. Victoria Nabiteko, whose son fought a successful battle against tetanus between 2019 and 2020, says health workers failed to detect the disease early for early management and treatment.
Medical center I went to, when I told them that the young man the jaw has locked, they could not tell me what is the situation. It took us a lot of money. It took us a lot of patience.
She urges parents to take their children vaccinated against tetanus.
It's a very simple crack. Even if it's a very simple wound, let parents rush to get the tetanus shot. Especially if your child is 10 years, and even if it's just 10 years and 1 month, please rush. Because the tetanus vaccine that was taken before has already expired.
This is the reason why the Coalition for Health Promotion and Social Development and the Stop Tetanus Club, in collaboration with the Ministry of Health, among other partners, have held the first ever National Stop Tetanus Awareness and Vaccination Run. The 4-kilometer run started at City Square in Kampala and ended at Mulago Referral Hospital Playground. The run was a climax of a month-long Stop Tetanus Awareness campaign that was launched on September 16th, 2022. Although tetanus affects people of all age groups, the current policy has been concentrating on women of childbearing age, leaving out men as well as underage children. According to Dr. Michael Banganizi, the Deputy Director, Uganda National Expanded Program on Immunization, they are organizing to advocacy for an adult immunization policy which will engage men and other adults who are sidelined in the current national tetanus immunization policy.
Ministry has received authorization to start planning for the adult vaccination as well, including men. You know, whenever you hear the tetanus vaccination, you would think of women. But the reason it was women, it was because they were trying to prevent the childhood tetanus so that the mother can pass on the protection to the baby. But now it's going to be for everyone.
Dr. Banganizi says tetanus is still a challenge to the country since most people do not want to get vaccinated.
Most people who get tetanus, if you do not get medical care, almost all of them will die. But even with medical care, very many die. Almost close to half of them will die, even with medical care.
Dr. Sabrina Chitaka, a pediatrician and infectious diseases specialist, explains why a tetanus bacteria infection is horrible.
If it gets you, you can become critically ill. People get spasms, they get lockjaw, they fail to breathe, and it can be a very dangerous disease.
Treating tetanus costs about 200 million shillings and very few patients survive.
Many people can afford to pay 200 million shillings for treatment, and yet we know that the vaccine is free. Somebody has paid for it, but it is your responsibility. So for me, my urge to all of us is let's say no to tetanus. Let us go get our booster vaccination shots and ensure that if you have a wound, get it treated, get your tetanus shot. Prevention is better than cure.
Shamim Natebo Wetendo, CTV, Pem Edition.
Importers of poultry concentrates and additives are up in arms following a decision by Uganda Revenue Authority to block the clearance of tons of their cargo at Busia border post. Uganda Revenue Authority intends to slap a 28% value-added tax on imports as well as import duty. Take a look.
Since members of the Poultry Association of Uganda and Uganda Revenue Authority officials appeared before the Parliamentary Committee on Trade to share views on the proposed tax in imported poultry concentrates and additives. The importers opposed the tax, saying it was suspended a few years ago by government to protect the poultry industry. URA which had insisted on taxing the goods, told MPs that they would suspend the plan to carry out more consultations with Finance and Agriculture ministries. However, the importers say that more than 500 containers of concentrates and additives are being held at Busia by URA because their owners have not paid VAT and import duty.
If we get out those containers, who are we now? Now we have gotten those containers, but still they are saying they're not yet clear. And they are advising us not even to include that tax in our cost.
Farmers told journalists at Lugogo in Kampala today that government should intervene and save the industry, which was thriving mainly because of imported feed concentrates.
The new HS code, which is accruing taxes, and now even the process of releasing these containers, they're telling us to sign an indemnity letter, whereby we are committing to pay.
And most of you guys in the government, you run poultry businesses. The only advantage you have, you can speak loudly and they can hear you. You can import your stuffs without a tax. For us, the tax will come to us and it will get back to everybody in this country. So we're asking you, let the business flow as it is.
Farmers and traders say the tax will imply that concentrates will be sold at a higher price, which does not make economic sense.
This is not the benefit we get when we outsource the different ingredients from our local markets. So the incoming of quality genetics and the presence of good nutrition had made our work perfect until the price of maize also challenged us.
Revise the levy.
But again, you've heard from the Committee of Parliament, when Parliament gives guidance on this matter, it is an administrative decision. They can decide that the tax will be effective going forward, or so it is, for the letter of indemnity, it is what is administratively prudent on our part.
URA says the move to impose the import duty and VAT on the concentrates is to discourage the importation of such goods and to protect local feeds producers. Chris Semakula and Sharon Twebaze, CTV PM Edition.
Away from Uganda, Ethiopia has imposed restrictions on foreign currency in a move to boost the country's plummeting foreign reserves. And in Nigeria, hundreds of lives have been lost, with more being reported after floods hit several areas in the country. Millions have also been displaced. Ethiopia has ordered banks to deny foreign currency to businesses importing non-priority goods in an effort to shore up dwindling foreign reserves in one of Africa's major economies. The move effectively freezes the importation of dozens of items such as alcohol and cars, as businesses must register with banks to obtain the foreign currency needed to bring goods into the country. In a letter to Ethiopia's central bank, the Minister of Finance said it had become necessary to restrict the use of foreign currency to importing food, medicine, and medical equipment and raw materials for manufacturing. The list of some 40 products includes vehicles and motorcycles to wall clocks, umbrellas, carpets and soaps, alcohol, perfumes, and cigarettes. No recent public figures are available regarding Ethiopia's reserves of foreign currency. According to a local newspaper, The Reporter, in late March, the National Bank of Ethiopia indicated reserves had fallen to $1.6 billion at the end of 2021, covering less than 2 months' worth of imports. Ethiopian authorities have also recently tightened laws on foreign currency holdings for individuals and businesses and banned all foreign currency transactions in Ethiopia. There was also a crackdown this month on the black market exchange of foreign currency, where the US dollar can fetch almost twice the official exchange rate amid a surge in demand. The central bank also announced this month it had blocked nearly 400 bank accounts believed to be linked to illicit currency trading and promised financial rewards to those who denounced players in the parallel market. About 500 people are believed to have died in Nigeria's worst flooding in a decade, with a further 1.4 million people displaced from their homes. The heavy downfalls have hit huge swathes of the country and affected people from all walks of life. Floods caused by abandoned rains and poor infrastructure have affected vast swathes of the country, sparking fears of food shortages and inflation. Fuel scarcity has already caused long queues at petrol stations in the capital Abuja this week after tankers were blocked by floods in neighboring states. The rainy season typically ends in November in the northern states and in December in the southern states, and more damage to people and property is likely before then. Beyond Africa, Chinese President Xi Jinping has vowed to never renounce the option of using force in Taiwan to suffocate efforts of the separatists movement. And from the United Kingdom, newly appointed Finance Minister Jeremy Hunt promises to restore the nation's public finances amidst the increasing sale of British government bonds by investors. Here's more. President Xi Jinping on Sunday addressed the 20th Party Congress, a once-in-a-5-year event. Starting his speech by praising the government's zero-COVID policy and keeping Hong Kong under his thumb, Xi quickly diverted his attention to Taiwan and said the matter was for only the Chinese people to decide. The CPP leader added that China reserves the option of taking all measures necessary against separatist forces. He said, "We will continue to strive for peaceful reunification with the greatest sincerity and the utmost effort. But we will never promise to renounce the use of force and will reserve the option of taking all measures necessary." Xi also lauded his government's approach despite Taiwanese secessionist forces attempting to break away from China. At the week-long Congress, Xi is expected to crown himself for a third straight term in the office. The move is an attempt by Xi to match the legacy of Mao Zedong and remain in the power corridors of Beijing for another 5 years. Furthermore, according to Chinese state media, Xi is expected to adopt an amendment to the party's constitution. After Prime Minister Liz Truss's initial economic proposals precipitated a collapse in the bond market, Britain's new Finance Minister Jeremy Hunt has promised to demonstrate to investors that he would restore the nation's public finances. He told BBC TV that no government can control the markets and no chancellor should seek to do that. Since September 23rd, when Hunt's predecessor as Finance Minister Kwasi Kwarteng promised a series of unfunded tax cuts, investors have sold a significant amount of British government bonds. Truss, who gained the Conservative Party's leadership less than a month ago on the promise to cut taxes, sacked Kwarteng on Friday and abandoned a significant portion of the plan they had developed together. Hunt, though, has stated that he will go further, including tax rises and tighter controls on public expenditure. Asked whether he thought financial markets would have confidence in his plans, Hunt said that, for people trading the markets, actions speak louder than words. On Monday morning, when trade in Britain's battered government bond starts without the assistance of the Bank of England's emergency bond buying program, which concluded on Friday, a first test will take place. The international wrap takes us for a short break. When we return, you won't miss the sports news. Welcome back. In our sports news, Toro and Lango Province have qualified for the semi-finals of this year's edition of the FUFA Drum Cup. Toro defeated Teso 2-0 in their second leg quarter-final encounter to advance 3-2 on aggregate. Lango used the home advantage in their second leg against Bogisu, winning 3-0, which implies that they qualify on a 3-1 goal aggregate. And here are some of the highlights. That's a wrap from tonight's edition. Adams Mayambala will be here at 7 p.m. for Njuba Egrobye and Melissa Mboha at 9 p.m. for PM edition. I'm Kalachi Brian with Isaac Luchams. Enjoy your night.